second graders. Welcome back to math today. I've got our geo board because we're going to be using this to draw some shapes and partition them. Today we're going to partition rectangles in different ways to show equal shares. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few smaller rectangles on here. I'll grab my pen, my straight line pen, and I'm going to create this rectangle. Okay, there we go. Now take a look at this rectangle. Hey, this rectangle is a special rectangle. It's a square. All four sides are equal. And now I'm going to make one over here. I'm going to use a different color. Let's see, just so we can make sure we know that this is a different rectangle over here. Let's do this here. Now you can see that the corner right there of this rectangle is touching this rectangle, but that's okay. This is another rectangle. Now this rectangle, which is also a square, is equal to this rectangle. And then I'm going to draw one more rectangle. But let me get a different color so we can distinguish it from the others. And so I'm going to start, let's see, I want you to be able to see that this side's going to touch right here, but this is this is the green rectangle. Okay. Okay, so I see three rectangles or squares on this geo board. I have a red one, a yellow one, and a green one. So my red one, I'm going to partition this one into halves. And I'm going to partition it, make sure I have my straight line tool. I'm going to do a diagonal partition like this. Oh, I must not have picked up my straight pen. Okay. A partition like this. All right, so that's a partition. And are these halves? Yes, they are halves. We have two equal pieces that are the same size, same shape. And if you flipped this triangle over, you could flip it on top of this one and see that you have exactly two equal pieces. So this piece is one half and this piece is one half. Then I'm going to partition this one differently. Let me get the green pen for this one. And I'm going to partition this one. I think for this one, I'm going to partition it horizontally through the center. Oh, I lost my pen. Okay. Like this. Now, are these two pieces halves? Yes, they are two equal parts of the same whole thing. So this whole shape here, this whole rectangle, is the same size as this whole rectangle. And I've partitioned this in halves and this in halves. And the hard thing to see, even though we know it's true, is that this half, you're getting the same amount as if you got this half. Even though the triangle and the rectangle portion here are different shapes, they're the same amount because they're both half of the same whole thing. It's hard to see. We'd have to almost do some cutting to see this. I'm going to go ahead and partition this one final way, and then we're going to look at what I'm talking about a little more closely. Oh, okay. Now, with this way, it's a little bit easier, I think, to see that you can see that this half and this half are the same size as this half and this half. I guess because they're both rectangles. It's more difficult to see with the triangles, isn't it? So let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and partition with the red. Let me show you what I was thinking here. What if we took this half? Okay, can you guys see here that this, I'm going to use a totally different color so you can really see what I'm talking about. Can you guys see here that this 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of makes like a small square here? Okay, so this piece here, I'm going to kind of shade it in, is the same amount as this piece here. Okay, are you good there? Do you agree with me there with that much? Now, what I want you to see over here is that this and this, if you put these two small triangles together, you'd have this. Let me show you. You see it? So this would be here, that would be here, and this would be here, and then this would be here. Does that help you better see that this half is the same amount as this half, even though they're different shapes? That's what we're going to be looking at today. So I'm going to flip off this geoboard now and make myself big, because the second thing we're going to do, we're actually going to do it with a piece of paper. So you're going to need a piece of paper and some scissors. And I'm going to use a piece of paper that I've already drawn I've got drawings on both sides. That won't work. I'm going to use a piece of paper, though, that I've already used. How about, well, it doesn't matter. I just wanted you guys to know that you can always reuse a piece of paper. But for this, you're going to have a whole piece. So it can't have any corners cut off or parts torn off. So get your whole piece and get your scissors and pause and then come back. Okay, so you're back. So the first thing I'm going to do, you've probably done this before in like an arts and crafts lesson. If you take this corner and you fold your paper down like this, this is how we make a square. So take this corner and fold it down. Let me lay mine down and fold it, and then I'll hold it back up so you can see precisely what I did. Okay, do you see? Let me come back. So I just took this corner and folded it down so that it touched this edge. And now I need to snip off the bottom. So let me do that. This is usually like the first step when you start making paper projects, and you got to start with a square. So I'm going to snip off this piece that doesn't have anything overlapping on top of it. And so it's the shape of a triangle when it's like the half, but then when you open back up and you see the whole thing, it's actually a perfect square, because all four sides are now equal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what I want to do is, if we take our halves here, I want to actually take this rectangle though, and I want to fold it a different way, not the diagonal. I want to go ahead and fold it like this way, okay? So it won't really matter if you're vertical or horizontal, because it's a square. So you're not going to have, there's no way to have it be wrong. I wanted to make the rectangles. Do you see how I did that? Even though I know I've got this fold line here from where I had the triangle, go ahead and make the rectangle. Okay, now open it up, okay? And let's go ahead and let's cut the rectangle. Let's cut along that rectangle line that we folded. Okay, so I have two pieces here, right? So this was one hole, and then I cut it into two pieces. Are they halves? They are. Each piece is one half. I can lay them on top of each other and I can see that they are the same size. So they are halves. Okay, so the next thing I'm thinking of is, do you see how we have this fold coming down here like this? Let's make that fold going up from the bottom also. So what I'm thinking is, see how you originally just had this fold? Let's fold this up too. And then I want to go ahead and cut that middle. Now I'm going to open them back up, and you'll see that I have two triangles here. And I'm thinking, what if I cut along the diagonal here? And so now I have two triangles and a square. Do I still have the same amount here as this long rectangle? So I should, because it was the same before I started cutting, right? I had this, and then I had this triangle piece was here, and then I had this triangle piece was here, like this. So I could, if I wanted to. No, I'm in the middle of a lesson. I could, if I wanted to, rearrange the layout of this. As long as I kept all four pieces together, what if I took a piece of tape and I taped my triangles
Mom,
like this.
Mom, which color
You'll have to wait.
shoulder?
You will have to wait. And what if I just taped it, oh, I don't know, like this, and made just a totally different shape than what I had? So what if I had a piece like this and a piece like this? Now, I did not get rid of any of that paper. I took this half, remember, that was the same size as this, cut it into some shapes, and then retaped it in a different way. Now, this is my thought for you. Is this half still the same amount as this? Are these halves equal? Well, it's a good question. It's hard to see. Take a look. If they were different colors, it would be easier. It looks like if I lay this on top of this, and then if I were to snip that back off and put it here, you'd say they were equal, right? Well, so they are still equal. They're just different shapes, but you're still getting the same amount. And that's kind of what we're looking at today. We're trying to figure out if we move pieces around and it was a different shape, are they still taking up the same amount of space? And they are. This one is still taking up the same amount of space as this one. So today, when you look at your lesson for what you're going to do, the first few are where you're just partitioning the rectangles in two different ways to show equal shares. And then on number 2, it says build the original whole square using the rectangle half and the half represented by your 4 small triangles. So I completely forgot. I'm going to go ahead and cut these apart. You are actually supposed to cut this square too, so that you have 4 triangles. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's asking you to see if you can build that original whole square again. Well, you can, because there's half, and then you've got to try to put the other half together with the 4 triangles and put it all together. And then it wants you to draw the lines, like where they would go. So if you're saying that this is half, and then you've got this piece here and this piece here, make sure you draw a line right here so that I can see that that's where your triangles are next to touching this. Finally, on the very last page, it's saying use different colored halves of a whole square. I don't know that we have different colored halves. So, no. So I don't know that we have different colored halves. So you might not have that colored paper at your house, but you could color it with crayons, couldn't you, to make it colored paper? And then it's saying to rearrange the halves to create a new rectangle with no gaps or overlaps. So you have fun with 3 and 4. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of direction there on those. One of them says cut out the circle. And if you're thinking, well, what circle? Well, remember, you can take anything in your house that is a circle shape and you can draw on a piece of paper and make a circle. And then you can totally follow these steps. If one of these, you need to cut a new square, I showed you how to use a piece of paper from your recycling bin or wherever to cut out a square. So those 2 are optional extensions, but they're kind of fun to see if you can do them, if you like puzzles, and I love puzzles. All right, guys, so enjoy math today, and remember that you're trying to partition things in different ways, but still be able to show that you have equal shares, okay? All right, I will see you next time.
No.